Trying to do is not just to make Bill Walker uncomfortable, get him to pay attention, but also the public. More and more part of this is leafleting and talking with people in the public to make them more aware of the issues on a go-forward basis and what we're confronting in Ontario with the current government.
Do you feel you have the public support?
Oh yeah, absolutely. You look at when we talk about the negative effects of increasing class size averages. You look at a recent poll in Holt, for example, that the trustees did there. 95% of the respondents said they're opposed to class size increases. Boards across the province are saying the same thing, that not just the class size increases, but the additional 4 online courses. There will be a reduction in teachers across the board over the next 4 years. But yes, absolutely. I think on the issues that we're talking about, it's been very clear that the public supports the positions that all of the stakeholders have taken, because they see the negative effects that it will have on students and publicly funded education, not to mention the loss of jobs.
Do you feel are your numbers growing? Are things swelling in this regard?
Yeah, absolutely. If I go back to the first announcement around cuts to funding for children with autism, if I go back there maybe 3-4 months and look at how many different parent groups and coalitions have gotten on board with the message and supporting the message that we are talking about. June the 6th, there's going to be a walk-in in Toronto, I think in Peel and a couple of other places, where parents, teachers, school board staff are all going to gather together in a big part and walk into the school to make a statement rather than walking out. And in large part that was organized by parent groups in conjunction with teachers in Toronto.
And then in terms of feedback, like from the Ford government, have you guys heard anything? Are they kind of wanting to listen and talk with you guys? They just ignore it?
No, the Ford government has not, nor has the Minister of Education, consulted with or talked with on an ongoing, meaningful way with any stakeholders, whether it's one of the 4 teacher unions or any of the other community groups. And you see that with parents of children with autism and how that unfolded. You see it now with the First Nations, Métis and Inuit curriculum being released without consultation with First Nations people in this province, or any mention of truth and reconciliation. So,
the Ford government did backtrack recently on the cuts to the municipal funding. Is there optimism that maybe it'll happen here as well, or do you see any sign of that?
No, what they've done, as they did with the autism cuts, there was so much pressure, I think, that they had to reconsider where they were headed with that. They've postponed that. They haven't gotten rid of it. So you're going to see in municipal budgets, once they're starting those new budgets, you're going to see that pressure back on. And those municipalities across the province are going to have to make the cuts that Ford is suggesting they should make. And you see the mayors across Ontario, John Tory being one in Toronto, saying this is not working. In part, as Tory has said, he'll work with the government to find, God, I hate to use that word, efficiencies, but to look at what Ford is asking for. But you just can't do it the way this government is doing it. In terms of making decisions, passing legislation, making announcements, and then going through 2 to 3 months of chaos because of the position that that legislation or those cuts have put students, municipalities, healthcare units in across the province.
Now, you urged your union members to get the government out in the next election.
Absolutely.
Okay, but in the last government, Ms. Wynn's government, she closed 700 schools. So what's left? How are you going to urge your union members from here on?
Well, I think what's really clear, and Doug Ford has said this, that we've picked a fight with everyone. So let's go back to Mike Harris, who took $2 billion out of publicly funded education, and we're still living with the negative effects of that in school. So yes, we stood up to them. Dalton McGuinty brought in Bill 115, and absolutely, we stood up and fought back and filed a charter challenge and won that charter challenge. And now with Doug Ford, when we see the negative cuts that are happening based on decisions he's making in legislation, absolutely we're going to stand up and push back and work on behalf of students in publicly funded education. These members right now are not out here because of salary or anything else. They're out here because of the negative effects those decisions are making.